Okay, so here is a unique case that I think would demonstrate a couple tricks I found to be very, very helpful. This case here actually is, obviously a large diastema, so a spacing case as well as a dentulous case. This canine here is missing. This canine here is missing. And what I have done that works extremely well is to simply, when we're doing the intraoral scan of the patient, to have the Pontics do a good shade match, order Pontics, and then simply place the Pontics into in between the patient's teeth here, okay, which is wax. We place those there with wax over here. You can see that this one here could have been placed a little higher, but we can adjust that digitally. Then we scan the patient with the Pontics in place, and then all the patient's going to do is in between as they're progressing through the aligners, they just pop these Pontics out and put them into the next aligner. And I found that to be the easiest and most aesthetic way of doing this, because the Pontics look very nice, and they just pop into the aligners very, very easily. So just a quick tip on something that I'm doing that has been working very, very well. As far as space closure, we are going to follow our same protocol with crowding, except actually just in reverse. So what I mean by that is, first we're going to click on Add Setup, Upper Jaw, and then what we're going to do is we're going to click on the staging tool. We're going to close the diastema about halfway, and we're going to close this diastema here about halfway. I'm going to do just a little bit of counterclockwise tooth movement here, and then I'm going to take these two teeth here, and I'm just going to bring them mesial. I would actually take that whole segment, except that I'm going to unrotate this tooth here. You can see I've already added an attachment to that tooth. And let me just point something out as well here in the software. Is that we've built in, you can see here, this little pad here and this little pad here in between the teeth. Essentially what that does, that's just to be used as a guide, so that, again, we like to create sort of buffers in between the teeth. And so you can use that sort of as a guide to, particularly in crowding, in cases with lots of crowding, you can use it as a guide to determine really where the real tooth structure stops and where the scan was not able to capture any data at all. So, for example, in this tooth here, this right here is actual scan data. This right here is all artificial. All of that there was not captured by the scanner at all. So we wanted to build in a convexity, so that the aligner would not go into that area, and so there would not be a negative shape in the aligner, if that makes sense. So we built in sort of a safety or a buffer shape in between the teeth there. Okay, getting back to space closure, I'm just going to bring these teeth together. Then on the other side, what we're going to do is we're going to take this entire segment here and bring this forward. And I'm going to bring this entire segment forward. I'm going to take this molar, I'm going to move this like so. And move that mesial just a little bit. Just take an overall view of the case. And again, remember, this is just to get us to a point where it's easy to finish. Finishing is very easy, but if you always keep in mind, first step is just get to within the ballpark. second step is going to be to do the finishing. Okay, when you do it that way, it is so much easier to progress through, through your cases. Okay, so now we are simply calculating the tooth movements, or the distances that we built in with that setup, and so here are those distances, and just following our guidelines. We've got a lot of rotation to that bicuspid there, so I would actually break this up into 25 setups or 25 intervals. Actually, before I do that, I would look at these anterior teeth here to see if I would change anything. And let me point out one thing. When we're doing a lot of space closure and a lot of tooth movement, sometimes the gingiva gets a little wavy like this. It just isn't a problem when we actually make the aligners, because again, we cut the aligners right across the zenith of the gingiva. Okay, so I just have never had it actually become a problem with the eventual fit. So just remember, we cut the aligners basically at or 1 millimeter below the zenith of the gingiva. Do not scallop, but just a straight cut. Okay, so now we're going to create the intervals, upper jaw, and we are going to go ahead and create 25 intervals. Click on OK. Okay, so here we are after those 25 intervals were created, and we'll go back to 0 here, and so you can see each one of the intervals. Again, on a case like this, I would probably be considering rescanning and doing the refinement at around, I would say, 20 or so. Okay, but I just let the clinical conditions dictate when that happens. And that's what's nice about the flexibility with Orchestrate, is that you can really adjust things on the fly for the patient. So, but in a case like this, I think I'd probably be expecting a rescan anywhere between 15 and 20. And at that point, I think I could probably finish this case with one more scan. So anyway, thank you very much. Hopefully you find these videos helpful. And if you have any questions or suggestions, we're always here.